Alleluia, Christ is risen. The Lord is risen indeed. Alleluia. This Easter is like none other in our memories. We're locked away from each other. We're out of the buildings where we love to worship. We miss the music and the flowers and the crowds and all the other things that are such a part of the Easter celebration, that stand behind and support that proclamation, Christ is risen. But Christ is risen. With or without the supports, the external observances, Christ is risen. And in that, we are not that different from the first proclamation that Christ was risen. Those first friends of Jesus celebrated the first Easter without knowing it was Easter. They were locked away in homes. They were prisoners of fear and uncertainty. The Lord they loved and followed had been put to a gruesome death, and it was not at all clear, not right away, that the resurrection was anything that could be relied on, that it could possibly be true. We're in good company in our uncertainty and in our fearfulness and the anxiety that may envelop us. Today, I ask you to remember that good company, to remember that Easter is rarely obvious in its reality, not fully obvious. The scriptures are consistent in that the resurrection event itself happened in the middle of the night. It's not incidental that, as the scriptures report it, no one was there to witness it. Rowan Williams, the former Archbishop of Canterbury, says, you can't see resurrection. You can only see the results of resurrection. You can see the results of this vast mystery we call the resurrection of Jesus. And it happens in us. It happens at the heart of the world. I believe it happens. It is the nature of reality itself. God is always bringing life out of death, causing being to emerge from non-being. The resurrection is something we don't have to prove. We don't have to see. We can't prove it. We can't see it. But we can see the results of it. Let the resurrection this year happen in you. It is happening in us, whether we recognize it or not. This Easter, take a moment and pay attention to the reality of the new life brimming up in you and around us, even in the face of the real fear and anxiety that envelops us right now in this time of pandemic, in this country, in our communities, and across the world. God is at work even in the midst of this, no less than God was at work in the reality of the cross and the desolation that followed for those first disciples. Christ is risen. Let us give thanks. Let us dare to sing Alleluia, maybe just in our hearts, maybe around the dinner table, maybe on a walk outside, I hope. Let's find a way to let the resurrection and its full reality quietly, perhaps, come to be and reshape us interiorly and in our communities. And then, like those first friends of Jesus, as we wait expectantly for more clarity, as we live in hope that the resurrection can become real in our world, in our lives, let us do what we can to make it so. Let us rely on the power of the risen Christ in our hearts and in our dispersed communities. Let that power blossom. Let it overtake us. Let us be like those astonished first disciples who began to realize that Christ is risen, no less in us and forever. Alleluia.